Pro days have come and gone, and that means we have new information this draft cycle. So I brought my buddy Andrew Cooper on, and we're going to discuss 8 of the biggest risers and fallers after all those pro days that we just witnessed. And as always, it's me, Jagger May. Let's hop into it. And I hate that I just said that, the most YouTuber thing ever. Let's hop into it.
Hey, let's jump right in, folks.
Yeah. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe. I will ask you to do that again, folks. Andrew, I told you I got a new tight end guy. So, and I actually just did that because I hate wearing you down talking about tight ends, even though this is a solid tight end class. So I gave you open format to give me 2 risers and 2 fallers that you didn't like. Your first riser, Germie Bernard. He's a favorite around here. I guess I got to ask, why is he a riser? Was it just someone that you were meh on and then you deep dove, or did something significantly happen here lately that has made you much higher on him?
Before we get to that, who's this new tight end guy?
Max Toscano.
Yeah, he does great work. I love Max's stuff. I'm really excited to see the reception perception project he's working on with the blocking and stuff. So yeah, that'll be excellent, man. So good. I like that you're mixing it up with that. And yeah, I've been diversifying my portfolio anyway. So with Germie Bernard, here's the thing. When you look at a player like this, we've got 3 types of kind of analysts out there. We've got the spreadsheet people, we got the film people, and then there's a contingency of people that really lean into the workout metrics and things like that. You know, the RAS scores, the SPORK, the player profiler data. So you don't get a lot of that until the combine and the pro days come around. With Germie Bernard, you have to understand the journey, right? He went to Michigan State, transferred into, I don't know why he transferred to Washington, which was absolutely jammed with talent with, Denzel Boston, all these guys. And then he went to Alabama, another place that's loaded. And that's where he finally shined, but no real early breakout age for him. Didn't really pop on the film early on. And then when he got to Alabama, the numbers were fine. He looked like a smaller possession type guy. When he got to the combine and the pro days, though, he kind of shocked people by running a decent 40 time, measured in over 200 pounds, 3-cone. Everything was pretty good there. And people started to go back and watch the tape and realize, wait a second, this guy has all those good possession traits. He stays grounded through the catch. And he's actually a little more athletic than we thought he was. And we were giving him credit for it. So I look at a guy like this and yeah, you can go with some of the high risk guys, like the field stretcher type guys. You can go with some of the, the big split end type players. But this guy, he really reminds me a lot of guys like Robert Woods and Tyler Boyd that were just really productive guys for a long time. People hate those concepts. They're like, oh, he must not be good. But those guys played in the NFL at the highest level for a decade.
A long time. A while.
They're super rich and super cool. And Tyler Boyd had a wide receiver 10 season. Robert Woods had these years where Robert Woods had the wide receiver 10 season. Tyler Boyd had a year where he was wide receiver 18, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons when he was actually a full-time player. So for me, Germie Bernard kind of went from a guy of coaches will probably like him and he'll and he could still just end up being like a Van Jefferson type that bounces around and is the next man up. But to the more I saw the combine and pro day, I was like, wow, this guy isn't just kind of a throwaway, pure slot possession guy. This guy actually has some size and speed to him. So I think he did himself a lot of favors by actually doing the testing.
Yeah, and I think what makes him different than Van Jefferson is he's just a far better utility player. I mean, and actually, it's funny you brought up Van Jefferson. I brought him up a bunch on this pod specifically as a type of guy who's going to continue to have a job. And if you're a fantasy dude out there, Van Jefferson isn't going to help you on fantasy, but from an NFL team, Van Jefferson is a solid 3 or 4, on the depth chart that can go out there and be effective in any system. Germie Bernard's more athletic than him. He gets that Debo usage that we need to have a better name besides the Debo role. Right. It's borderline half H-back, half slot guy. And on top of that,
we used to call it the Percy Harvin role, and then we just transferred it to Debo.
Yeah. We need to actually name that. We have an F tight end and a Y tight end. We need to call that position something else because he's not Debo. He's not built like Debo, but he can be used after the catch and he can be manufactured touches and he's good enough to create for himself downfield. So that's why we've been high on him. And like you said, the athletic testing has been, I wouldn't say a shock, but it's been a pleasant surprise because you're oh man, maybe you can do a little bit more downfield. And it just makes more possibilities for a coaching staff to bring him in and use him more creatively. I'm interested in you because once we have another wide receiver, I think we could talk more of that. We kind of now, we don't have comps anymore, pure comps, and there's not so many like well-rounded wide receivers. We just have these archetypes that we constantly try to put people in. And Germie Bernard, I think, is one of the first wide receivers that can create his own, because like, he's bigger than Jaden Reed, but he's not Deebo Samuel, but he does some of the similar things that both do.
Right, exactly. He is the kind of Swiss Army knife type guy, because the problem that you do run into when you mention the different archetypes, you go through like a few of those, they don't necessarily translate well to the NFL. A lot of people always talk about field stretchers and how if you end up with a team with a lot of 3 wide receiver sets and you're the field stretcher, it's hard to get a lot of targets and you can end up being inconsistent. Same thing with a split end. If you end up with a team that has like a really good flanker and a slot guy like a Josh Downs, you could end up being a sacrificial X that's out there just kind of facing the jam and not getting a lot of targets. And then same goes for the pure slot guys. Like if you can't play outside, you don't have the size, you don't have the speed, you can't beat the jam, then you just end up stuck in the slot like a Khalil Shakir or a Josh Downs, and the caps your ceiling. Like the ability to play all 3 roles allows you to not only hopefully have a role of your own, but also be that guy that steps in if anyone gets hurt pretty much anywhere, which again, Van Jefferson has been that kind of guy. He's the son of a coach, so he knows all the roles. And when I look at Germie Bernard, I think his floor is at least that, which is very appealing to NFL teams, but his ceiling is actually to be a guy that can be an every down player versus somebody who gets pigeonholed into a very specific niche role and only comes on the field for 3 wide receiver sets, which, Jag, I'm not sure if you've been looking, but last year, it was over at Sumer
12
Sports.
personnel, baby.
Crazy. This is the first year I can remember where no team had more than 70% of the snaps in 11 personnel specifically. Like every year you have a couple teams that are at 80, teams like the Rams, teams like the Bengals, and then you have a few teams that are above 70. No team above 70. Everybody's leaning into it. So you really got to, it's dangerous territory to be the wide receiver 3 in a lot of these schemes.
Yeah, it's 100%. And I'm definitely going to talk about that when we get down to, we have one tight end on this list, just because the NFL is a lot more like the NBA. Everything's positionless, and more tight ends give you more versatility than more wide receivers do, particularly if you want to run the ball. If you're one of these teams that just want to throw 1,000 times a game, a la the Bengals, tight ends aren't as important to them. And really, I think that's on them, not so much. Like, I think that's a poor decision by them, not so much a feature of their offense, even though they do have
I fully agree, man. Like that, I'm so glad you said that, dude, because I haven't had a chance to talk about that. But like, you look at teams that do what the Bengals do, which look at the Colts for years with the mix and match tight end. And finally they said, let's just get one. And it was awesome. And you look at here's the crazy part about the Bengals. You look at their tight end room, they're actually spending the 11th most money on the position. Between
it does not feel like it.
It doesn't, right? Between Gesicki and Drew Sample and all these guys and Tanner Hudson and whatever, they're actually spending the money. So it's like, might as well just get the guy, So I'm fully with you, man. It's time. Like, yeah. I'm so tired of seeing like that offense, the way they use Drew Sample. They're not even pretending like they're not throwing it on that play. And they're not even pretending like they might throw him the ball. They literally have a tight end in the backfield, just ready to, just locked into pass blocking. I don't understand what they're doing from an NFL scheme standpoint, because they're just telling everybody what they're doing. And they're basically telling everybody, oh, by the way, you can just double Jamar Chase or T. Higgins this play because we got this guy out here who's eligible to catch a pass and never will.
He never will. Exactly.
He never will.
It's not only the fact that you have a mediocre offensive line, but you're putting like a minus tight end out there to make up for it. It's just bonkers. Yeah,
they drafted him in the 2nd round too, and then they gave him another contract. I was like, man, this mistake is being compounded.
Zach Taylor, baby. That's all I got to say there. Moving on to my first one. To explain to you, Andrew, and if you guys are repeats on here, this is a yo-yo, what I call like a yo-yo player. And I don't call it significant. I was already much higher on Nussmeier than I think the consensus was. I got realistic after you hear the draft buzz, after you go to the combine, you need to make adjustments for what the league is telling you. Now the league is starting to tell me, hey, they've caught up to all the other things that I started seeing. And I think that LSU season, I'm not saying it was like bunk or a fluke because everything matters, but I think your head coach being fired and being mediocre at the same time, and you dealing with injuries, and you dealing with the poor offensive line, and your best wide receivers 5'8", Aaron Anderson, and Mason Taylor's gone, who is your best tight end. All of those could lead to a regression, and I think that's what happened. We've seen him get top 50 visits now. That's a big deal. That's significant. I was talking about last year with Woody Marks. Everyone's like, well, I wasn't high on him. I'm like, Woody Marks is getting a lot of top 50 visits. If you get more than like 4 or 5, he's probably going top 50, guys. And that's where I feel about Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's at least going top 50. I don't see him going past the Cardinals after the top of the second round, just because of what he can do on a base point, like QB level. I don't think he's going to come out and do the athletic, crazy stuff that we see from some of these guys like Patrick Mahomes that we keep trying to recreate, like Jackson Dart, who was a mid-round that we've seen elevate, but he just does everything right. He's got a strong arm, coach's kid, if that matters to you, very good processor. The only thing is he's just not very big and not very athletic and had one down season.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of people know my tight end work from fantasy football, but the position I played was quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. And if you never played quarterback, there's 3 levels to it. The first level, and the level that for the rest of your life you'll always remember, is not screwing up. That literally, every game you go out there and you say to yourself, let's not screw up today. Because the base level of quarterback is, let's get everybody into position and get the play going, and I'm going to turn around and hit my marks on these handoffs and where I got to be. And I'll tell you, at the next level, J.J. McCarthy, Cam Ward, so far have not shown that ability. Those teams were like at the top of the league in illegal formations. They were the top of the league in false starts and illegal motions and 10 guys on the field, Jag. Like, we're talking like, those guys are not playing a clean game even yet. And with Nussmeier, you don't have to worry about that at all. Like you said, his dad's an offensive coordinator in the NFL. At least you know that he can run an offense. The next level after that is everyone always says making all the throws, right? But that doesn't just include arm strength. One thing that Nussmeier does that I had trouble with Ty Simpson with is that Nussmeier can actually throw the ball on the run, rolling to his left and his right. Watch Ty Simpson. That could be a fatal flaw for Ty Simpson because he has to stop and set his feet. Almost always he stops and sets his feet instead of just kind of torquing the hips and throwing it. I'll tell you, at the next level, if you're not throwing on the run, if you're trying to stop and set your feet, that's how you get hurt. That's how you get hurt. That's how turnovers happen. That extra second where you stop, you get crushed. Watch a guy like Trevor Lawrence. That's what separates Trevor Lawrence from a lot of these guys. This dude can rip it, rolling left and right. And I'll tell you, Garrett Nussmeier, his throws, they don't look materially different rolling to the left or the right from just being in the pocket, Jag. You noticed that too as well, right?
100%. And it's particularly his Senior Bowl tape, because he wasn't doing that in the 2025 season because he was hurt. He was doing that the year before when we thought, hey, why is this guy going to come out? And Senior Bowl, this dude was slinging it. And the comp that I have for him, his ceiling comp, and it's because I watched him what felt like back-to-back. Brock Purdy in the playoffs after he was healthy, and then Garrett Nussmeier at the Senior Bowl. The way these two were moving no, they're not the biggest guy. They aren't the fastest guy, but they could be on time, on target, and move. Brock Purdy was moving a lot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. For real, Brock Purdy did a lot for me. I always thought he was going to be the 49ers guy. I'm not that type of person, but I didn't think he was that great as far as elevating what was a pretty, I would say, hurt team. Let's just say, like, they're known for being injured. I didn't think that Brock Purdy could do that. And I now seeing Garrett Nussmeier in that same situation, his only big knock has been like hero ball in college. And you can't play hero ball when there's no one else around. So,
right. And that's level 3. Level 3 is the ability to make special plays. And that's where the questions for Nussmeier are, because he doesn't have the size and he doesn't have the speed. And we've seen a lot of guys get to the next level and think they can continue to do that. And that's how you get Zach Wilson getting sacked for negative 25 yards, is that he thinks he can still just play the hero ball from college. But in the NFL, like, if you can do 1 and 2 and play a clean game and make all the throws, if you land into a scheme like Kyle Shanahan's, which now, Kubiak's running it, Bobby Slowick's running it, Mike McDaniel's running it. I mean, like, you don't even have to necessarily be a guy that plays hero ball and makes special plays. You don't have to be Josh Allen to succeed in Mike McDaniel's scheme. So like Garrett Nussmeier doesn't even necessarily have to go out and put on the cape to take over a team like the Cardinals, like you mentioned. So he's been growing on me a lot, because when I first looked at him, because again, when you first go to look at these guys, before you even watch the tape, you look at the size, you look at all that stuff. I immediately dismissed him. And for me, he's been a huge riser after just watching him operate through the pro days and everything, which again, when you're a coach's kid and you're 24 and you're the most polished guy, you're going to look good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if anything, he's just answered all the questions that he can from what he's been given. Like, we can't unsee 2025 season, but at least he's coming out there and doing the right things. Whereas like Diego Pavia, your big question is maturity. He answered those questions poorly, when you go out there. And that's what you like to see from these guys.
When I see the interviews with Nussmeier, then, because this is a good thing for him, but maybe a bad thing for fantasy. I could also see a guy that goes to the NFL and is a backup for 5, 6, 7 years until they stop giving him $1 million a year to be a player coach. And then he just is the next like Davis Webb or Kevin O'Connell and follows his dad's footsteps and becomes a coordinator or coach. You know what I mean? He seems like this guy knows everything the way that I've heard people describe like Tim Boyle and Davis Webb, guys that know everything a quarterback should do at the NFL level, but they just can't do it. You know what I mean? It's like with Nussmeier, you hear him talk, you watch him play, like he knows exactly what you got to do. The question is whether he has the size and ability to be an NFL QB, but I think he's absolutely earned a shot to do that in the second round at least.
His ceiling comp, Brock Purdy, his floor's Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he's not going to be good in the NFL, but he might be a good head coach.
Quarterback coach in 2031. You know what I mean? Like it could be, but hey, you know what? That's actually that's a good future for somebody like that. So he did a good job. He did a good job.
And one last thing on these quarterbacks, as you mentioned the arm slot thing, and I just want to put this out there. If you're watching this, chances are you've heard about the bloodbath at PFF. Now, guys like us watching film are more valuable more than ever, and especially if we have a metric. Like me, I have a grading score. We have the nerd score here for just skill positions. I grade every position. And then you got like reception perception. I've adjusted to where arm slot is just a part of the grade. It's not like used to adjusting your arm slot was like, I don't need to have ketchup for French fries, but like it's nice when I have them. It makes a better French fry. Now we don't have fucking French, like now arm slot, you need to have fry oil. That, like, to me, that's the fry oil to be cooking with grease. If you can't make these adjustments on the go, if you can't be mobile, that just makes you a worse quarterback. And I think that's something that we really need to think about now as the position has changed, because a lot of people are like, well, he's mobile. Like that's the bare minimum now. Being mobile is the bare minimum. Carson Beck. Yeah, Carson Beck is a negative because he is immobile. It's not like he's he's a very stereotypical pro-style quarterback. No, he's an old school, this doesn't work anymore. I mean, I'm not saying it can't work, but you got to do a lot to make it work.
I'm telling you, this is a take that people don't necessarily love, but like at the NFL, there's only 3 heads you can cut off for major changes at organizations, right? The GM, the coach, and the quarterback. You look at somebody like Jared Goff even, and you got this super team built around him. Brad Holmes, back-to-back executive of the year. They love Dan Campbell. Like if Jared Goff doesn't take that team to another level and start doing special things, he could just end up being the next Alex Smith soon. And that's the way it is at the NFL. Like if you're not doing things special when it's time to compete and time to actually win, then it might be time to move on. And like Jag said, like if you're not bringing some sort of plus traits to the table, then you could end up on the back burner. So I do look around at that, and it's why I've come back around a little bit. I didn't want to put him on the show, but I've come back around a little bit on Drew Aller. People hate when I say that, but I mean, like, at least he has some special traits. He could be.
He's going top 100, man. He's going top.
He has to. He has to. He's still young. He's a big moose. And when I watch him, he does. I mean, too, when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's good, it's things that other people can't physically do. He's like literally like the inverse of Nussmeier, right? It's like Nussmeier. If you could take Nussmeier's like polish and brain and put that in Drew, then you would have a monster QB. So we'll see what happens, man.
Before we go, that's the perfect segue. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe. Like I told you guys, I was going to ask you to do that again. And like I said, man, right now, if you want a film score, if you're a fantasy guy, there's no better spot than Dynasty Nerds, where we have our nerd score. We have all of the tape on almost every skill player loaded up. They're all condensed games, so you can join the nerd herd and get in on that action. Even before I was here, I used it. Most people in the industry will use that and some random other spots because I'll be honest, guys, finding rookie tape, it's easier for you to find cocaine at a Catholic church. It's difficult to get, but
all
we got
22.
it for you.
Some guy comes up in a jacket with the all 22. He's like, you need some Germie Bernard?
I got that Justin Joly right here, dog.
Yeah, you get that Denzel Boston.
Yeah. So you guys want to sign up, and like I said, now more than ever, into supporting. I say smaller. We're pretty big now over here at Dynasty and Draft Nerds, but supporting stuff like this, we're gonna continue to give you all of that stuff, like scores, all that premium content. Even though someone else like PBFF won't be there, and I can promise you, we're a lot cheaper than their suite was. All right, I paid the bills. You're welcome, Rich.
Oh boy.
Now, Emmett Johnson, he's been a faller for everybody. My big pitch is or anti-pitch is you're small and you're not very fast and you can't pass block.
Yeah, it's like in Space Jam, right? When Newman's character from he goes, I may not be tall, but I'm slow. It's tough. But here's the thing. This player, and I think we both agree on this. This player can play football, right? He has a football IQ that's obvious on the field. And as crazy as it sounds, one of the number one indicators of football IQ for me at running back, tell me if this sounds crazy, is literally just receptions. Like when I see a guy that can actually maneuver around and make himself available to the quarterback and make those catches and make things happen, that to me shows football IQ. We had this kid, I don't know why I'm saying kid. He went to the NFL and played for like 10 years. Anthony Sherman, right? He was a fullback for the Chiefs. But for us, he was everything, right? It was like, hand him the ball. He's the middle linebacker. If it's third and long, you either throw it to him or I pitch it to him and he would throw it. And this kid was a freak. He could throw equally well lefty and righty. So if we pitch to him rolling right for halfback pass, he throws righty. If he rolls lefty, he throws lefty. He threw righty. He pitched lefty and righty in our alumni baseball game. Like just freakazoid, right? But this kid had an uncanny ability to be exactly where he needed to be. We would call pass plays where his role was only to block. And he could sense when the play was not working well and peel out, and I would throw him the ball. Like this guy was just like special, right? And with Emmett Johnson, I do see a little bit of that there. But the testing, I mean, if there was ever somebody that we should have said, hey, just don't do anything and you'll be better for it, that would be this guy. He went out and did everything and did his best, but he came in slow, 4, 5, 6, not exactly oversized. But we've seen this before and we've seen it pan out. I mean, one big example from somebody that was drafted by a team that doesn't go to the combine. Famously, Les Snead and the Rams, they don't care about the combine. They don't do top 30 visits because according to them, they have enough boots on the ground all over the country, talking to people, talking to their teachers, that Les Snead says that it would actually be bad for him to do an hour meeting with somebody. It would skew the information compared to everything they have. They went out and drafted Kyren Williams after he did the same thing. He went to the combine, weighed in low, tested poorly, fell in the draft. And then it turned out that this guy is just a guy that understands football and is a football player. So with Emmett Johnson, that's the bet that you have to make. But it's undeniable. If we're talking about people who are trending down following the combine and following the pro days, go over to any sort of site like you mentioned, Pro Football Focus. I'm not sure if they're going to keep this tool or not now that everybody's been fired. But they have like the draft tool where people are doing the mock drafts. And you go look at his chart, and it is nosedive, Mm-hmm. So for me, Emmett Johnson was a guy where I was like, man, if he just tests great with this pass catching ability, I'm going to love this guy. And he did the total opposite. Couldn't have done much worse, right? Like even the splits were bad. Sometimes you can be like, oh, well, at least the 10-yard split was good. Wasn't good. So I don't know. Like for me, I'm kind of torn on this guy now, because he's a faller, no doubt, across the industry. But for me, I kind of look and I'm like, okay, well, I hope he falls enough to where I can take a little shot, How do you feel about Emmett Johnson? Are you out at this stage?
it's you actually just said all my sentiments, dog. He's
Okay.
high risk, high reward. And from where I'm at is like I'm in two minds now. I've like graduated from fantasy guy to where I'm a draft guy, so I think about things a lot differently. And now I think about special teams. And you should, as like if you're a fantasy dude watching, obviously you are if you're from Dynasty Nerds over on Draft Nerds. Like you got to think of what an NFL team can get out of a third, let's say third or second string running back. You need to have the ultimate first down ability, which he does not have, or the ultimate third down ability, which is suspect because he only has half the things. You're right about the IQ. Without the pass blocking, that is a huge liability. We've seen mediocre guys who we were wondering why they're out there, like Malcolm Brown, just because of pass blocking, or even Roschon Johnson had us fooled for like 4 years that he was somebody just because of pass blocking alone.
Yeah. But LaQuinn Allen, that's literally all he does. They don't even give him the ball.
He's a good pass catcher.
I don't know why they don't throw it to him, man.
It's nuts, dog. It's actually nuts. And maybe it's different now that Etienne's gone or Achan's gone. But it's, to me, it's more the same, where it's easier for you to get on as a pure pass blocker than as just a pure pass catcher, is my point that I'm saying. And he's not even fast enough to do anything on special teams. So to me, that's automatic day 3 right away. So it's like you're saying, you got to bet on a team like Les Snead and the Rams who don't go to the combine. That's how you end up with Puka and Kyron. Puka didn't test well either. People forget about that.
Yeah.
So that's
these
the
guys,
bet.
That whole tree, man, I'm telling you, I actually have been starting to consider this as like my last tiebreaker, is like when I get to day 3 and when I get to rounds 4, 5, 6, and I'm completely on the fence. If I am, I'll sit there and I'll say, was this guy drafted by Les Snead? Was he drafted by Brad Holmes? Was he drafted by James Gladstone now? Or was he drafted by Mickey Loomis, right? It's like, or Duke Tobin. It's like, we do it with coaches all the time. And we do it on the other side all the time. We do it, for years we would say, oh, was it a wide receiver drafted by the Patriots? Let's move him down. But we don't necessarily do that on the other side, where now I'm starting to kind of look at it like a tiebreaker. Like if the Rams are going to find, if Les Snead and Brad Holmes work together for years, and if they're going to go out and find all the Puka Nakuas and Kyron Williams and Amon-Ra St. Browns and all these guys, then maybe we should factor that in and be like, you know what? Like, these guys are doing something special continuously, and these guys are screwing up left and right. Maybe we should make that, though we have so much data that it's the last tiebreaker for me. But at a certain point, when you get to that range, I look at it, I'm like, you know what? James Gladstone handpicked Bashal Tutin. Okay. I'll give him a look.
That I draft, like I tell people that I draft teams as much as I draft players. Yeah. And like someone going somewhere will knock them. Like, to be honest, I like everything that the Raiders have done this offseason. I love them getting Clint Kubiak. The Raiders as an organization, I'm talking from Mark Davis down, have been terrible my entire life. It would be a detriment to me and all the people I give advice to if I didn't bring up the fact that the Raiders could still ruin Mendoza. Same thing going to the Jets. The Jets right now, I'm counting the Jets on 2027 because I just don't believe in Aaron Glenn anymore. I don't believe in it at all. I don't believe in Matt Nagy in the Giants. Like that, and I've gotten heat because why don't you like Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart? Matt Nagy, that's why.
Well, here's the thing though. This is what I've been begging teams to do for a long time. If a team goes out and legitimately puts a true football man, right? Like, I consider you, Jim Coventry, a lot of the people that care about actual football, X's and O's, to be a true football man. If you go out and put a true football man in between you and the organization and finally admit that you're screwing it up, I will give that organization another chance. One example being the Chargers. I hated the Spanos family. I hated all of them. They brought in Jim Harbaugh and said, Harbaugh, you're going to run everything now, and we're going to take a step back, and things have been better. With the Giants and John Harbaugh, I'm willing to give him a shot. But to your point, and maybe even the Raiders with Tom Brady, even though we don't know if he's necessarily an executive football man. We know he knows football, but we've seen guys fail at that as well. But like, to your point, Michael Bidwell making himself president of the Cardinals, I will never trust that team while he's doing that. Woody Johnson, I will never trust them. So to your point exactly on that, like, I do the same thing with the organization. Mickey Loomis and the Saints, Duke Tobin, and whatever they're doing over there, where Tobin doesn't even handle the contract. Somebody else does the contract. I don't even know what he even does. But like, those guys, I'm fully with you on that. But with the Giants, I'm willing to give them a shot. With the Raiders, that's a tougher one because you're right. It is still Mark Davis running it, and he is perhaps the weirdest dude in all of sports.
Yeah, that haircut alone disqualifies you from like. I wouldn't even trust you to like get my like order pizza. You know, like he's gonna like.
You know where he holds his meetings? Have you ever heard that? PF Chang's. He's a PF Chang's guy. He has this like retrofitted van that he has that's like that he like watches movies in. And then when his like favorite restaurant's PF Chang's, and like multiple people have said that his preferred meeting spot for business as a billionaire is PF Chang's.
That is somehow weird and based at the same time.
Just showing up, this dude, white pants, bowl cut, PF Chang's, dude. I mean, I go back and forth on whether Mark Davis absolutely rules or if he's just a complete loser.
I would hang out with him. I don't want him running my team. That's why I think
I mean, I hope that the move here is him finally saying, okay, we're going to put Tom Brady in between me and this team. And if that's the case, and, you know, and Clint Kubiak, of course, you know, bringing over Rick Dennison and that whole crew, it gives me some hope, but you're right. I mean, they've been such a bad organization. They've done everything the wrong way. That one draft they had, man, where they drafted
the Gruden draft.
I mean, dude, the one draft where they drafted, who was the kid with the neck tat that they traded to the Dolphins before the season even started? Like they took 3 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds, and every one of them was a bust. I mean, they've been brutal, man. But I have hope. I have hope in the Tom Brady era.
I do too. I have hope. I said it's like I had to give it a mention and about to worry. My next riser, Malachi Fields. I have a hard time seeing what's worse about him than Denzel Boston, man. I liked him at Virginia. He was a guy that I saw watching Virginia tape. I'm like, who is this kid? And then he goes and gets a transfer to Notre Dame. I'm like, I like that instant notable person I'm putting on my next big board when I'm getting ready to scout. And he's another one who just keeps answering questions. Anything that he's done in athletic testing has been fairly solid. He fits the archetype of size X type player, which the NFL needs a lot of. We've gotten smaller in the NFL, so getting bigger at wide receiver, and especially someone who I think can create on their own, that's something I think is going to be attracted to a lot of teams. And at the same time, I just feel like he can go to a better team than, let's say, Denzel Boston gets like overdrafted to the Jets or something like that. It's more that like if we're so high on Denzel Boston, why aren't we just as high on Malachi Fields? That's where I'm at. Like yards per route 1 for Denzel Boston was like 1.88. It's not. I don't give a shit about that stuff, but it's a stat that's relevant. You know,
right? Well, with the Denzel Boston, everybody's saying the same thing. They're saying if Rome Odunze declared when he was supposed to, Denzel Boston would have hit all the breakout metrics. So they're just kind of giving him credit for an early breakout that he didn't have. You know, literally, I've heard people say, well, he would have broke out if Rome Odunze was gone. But you can't just you can't just assume those things, you know, because
Jeremy Bernard outproduced him when he was at Washington State. We don't talk about that enough.
Yeah. So yeah, it's brutal there. I'll tell you, Jag, I posted an article yesterday, so you probably haven't seen it yet, but, for folks interested, I posted a free article where I took the wide receiver position. I'm going to do this for every position. And I broke down the best landing spots for fantasy, and I broke them down into the individual roles. So not just the Dolphins need wide receivers. This team could use a split end for the scheme. This team could use a field stretcher. This team could use a slot flanker. This is a spot where a field stretcher could actually be fantasy relevant. So I went through and I looked at the split end examples. And like you said, there's a ton of teams that could do it because it's a copycat league and people are looking at T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and now Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua and now George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And basically everyone was copying what the Bucks did with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, big split end and then a slot flanker. Well, you've got a ton of teams where they have the slot flanker player and could use the big split end. And I think that both players in some of these situations could get 100 plus targets. Like the Giants, they could use a big split end opposite Malik Neighbors. The Jets, I know the quarterback situation is brutal, but they could use a split end with Garrett Wilson as slot flanker. The Saints with Chris Olave. And then, of course, you have teams like the Dolphins and the Browns where if these guys are drafted to those teams, they're just the best guy right away. So there's a ton of spots where this guy could go, not to mention some of these other teams where their split ends getting older, they could go there and be the heir apparent, right? It's like, go learn how to play this role from Mike Evans and then take over for him. He's 32 years old, going to be 33 in August. go to the Rams and learn how to play split end from Devontae Adams. These are Hall of Famers. And then he's 33 right now. Like, there's so many spots for a player like this to go and develop into the next big-bodied outside wide receiver. And this guy's massive, right? He's the combine 6'5", 218 was it? It's like, yeah. Is that what it was? The final measurements for him?
Yeah, exactly. He's a big boy.
Dog. Yeah, those guys, there's a reason that you look at it and you're like, why did that guy get paid so much money? It's because he can actually tether his foot to the line. You have to have 7 players on the line every play. He can tether his foot to the line. He can beat the jam. He can run block with only 1 inch of space between him and the guy across from him. Like, these guys, in terms of real NFL football, are highly valued for a specific reason. Same with a guy like Alec Pierce, who's 6'4", over 200 pounds. Like, they can do things that, some of these smaller guys that, Andrew Hawkins could never do. Khalil Shakir could never go out and play that role. So these type guys, when they go in the second round, we take notice. So if Malachi Fields gets picked, at pick 35, I mean, T. Higgins went at pick, 33, 34? This is exactly what we want to see.
Yep. Exactly. And I love that what you said about, like, and I actually want to check out that article and reference it then, just because, like you said, there's 1,000 slots now. There's not a lot of guys who can play split in and be more than a sacrificial X right now. Right. And I think that's a huge win. We're going to go to your first faller, Justin Joly here. Tight end, NC State. Next week, spoilers, we're going to have Max Toscano on, and that's when I'm going to go through my re-review of tight ends. Justin Joly's one that I haven't watched much tape on yet. I expected a lot to happen at the combine. It kind of didn't. I've heard lots and lots of hype from folks before the combine and everything happened, and now it's just kind of nothing. So why has he been a faller for you?
Yeah, and this is a player I still like, but this is one where my heart got broken a little bit, because when I was going through and watching the the tape, and the first thing I do, and this is kind of amateurish, but to me, the first thing I do is I pull up these guys and I do just watch the highlights, and I do just watch the catches, and I say to myself, is this person at least putting something special on? Because the NFL is the permanent all-star game. And if these guys can't show special effort and do special things against lesser talent at this level, we're not going to see it at the next level. Like, go and watch George Kittle's college tape, and it's not a lot of plays, but he is hitting the spin moves. He's diving. He's running guys over. He's getting extra yards. And then you go and watch like Luke Schoonmaker, and he's basically just taking what he's given. It's a lot of play action, dump down screens in the flat. It's just, there's nothing there's no contested catches. With this guy, I pulled him up, and the first thing I did was I was looking at the size he's listed at, right? And he was listed a lot of places. Like NC State had him listed at 6'4", 263. And then other places have him listed like 250 something. I'm like, okay, well, this happens all the time. He's probably somewhere in there, right? And I'm watching him, and he's hitting the spin move, and he's diving, and he's making contested catches, and he's breaking tackles. Like, this class, there's a lot of similar guys on paper. I can guarantee you a number of these guys have never even attempted a spin move in their life. The number one tight end move in college is to the failed attempted hurdle. That's like the only thing half these guys do is they try a hurdle and get like dumped on their neck, and you go, oh, like that. You see that all the time. But this guy is actually like fluid. And I'm like, this guy's doing that at 260, maybe 255. Like, this is great. This guy looks pretty fast. Then the combine comes around, and forget not even doing the testing, which he didn't do. They measured this guy in 6'3", 241. That's 241. NC State had him. NC State had him listed 20 pounds higher. Not like they had him listed as if he was the size of Rob Gronkowski. Like, he actually measured in closer to like what Evan Engram is. Like, this is what Kenyon Sadiq is listed at. And then he didn't do any of the combine running. He didn't do any of the physical testing. So it's like, okay, well, now this guy that looked like a giant freak is now just a smaller guy that was ripping some spin moves. And then you get to his pro day, and he does the vertical leap, and it's not good. And then he says that his hamstring is tweaked, and he's not going to run the 40. And then we have to basically be like, well, maybe the vertical leap was bad because of the hamstring, and we got nothing out of it, and it was nothing but negative. So we have no choice but to have him be a faller. even though this is a guy where I watched it before the combine and I was like, all this guy has to do is show up and be, literally all he had to do was show up and be 250 pounds. And I'm like, well, this guy can actually move and he's 250 pounds. He didn't even do that. So I don't know, man. It hurt me, man. And here's the thing. I still like the tape enough that I still like the guy. I just wanted to see, I just needed some confirmation. And we not only didn't get confirmation, but we got the exact opposite. So I'm very sad. It makes me very sad.
Yeah, and athleticism is the number one correlation that we have for tight ends, even above like college production at this point. And the fact that he can come out there, it's like, cool. Is he like a poor man's Kenyon Sadiq? You know, can he block well and then move well? We didn't get to see either of those things. And he's just a mystery box in one of the deepest tight end classes ever, because like there's guys like Sam Roush. I'm a big Eli Raridan fan for what he can do. Mm-hmm. I don't think Jack Injury sucks either. So if I'm an NFL team, I'm like, hey, these other guys tested, all ran 4.6, all 250, you know, like what can you do for me? And we're playing the bet like, oh, this guy will get in a camp and he'll end up being whatever. And we just can't really bet on that. I don't like betting on that. So
right, exactly. And with some of these other guys, you also look at it and you're like, okay, well, you know, Eli Stowers, he was a quarterback and then he converted, and you can put weight on that frame. It's so hard to just in one off season put on a ton of weight, because during the season you're playing every week and it's hard to get up to NFL. You know, it's hard to add weight. But this guy's been a tight end the entire time. He was at UConn for a bit, so I'm interested to see what Max. I bet Max will like him, just based on his profile and stuff. But interested to hear what he has to say about these guys next week. I'll be tuning in, but. It was just disappointing. It was disappointing, but hey, again, draft capital is going to matter for this second wave of tight ends here, because there are a lot of guys that are kind of in that realm of could be tweeners, could be whatever. And whoever does go in the second and third round, they're going to have a leg up.
Mike Washington, we talk about him a lot here, so I'm actually just going to give you room. Is it the combine? Are you worried about the drops, or excuse me, the fumbles, the ball security, and the pass blocking?
Yeah, and that really is the whole thing, is that you look at a guy like Jeremiah Love, and not only was he great, not only does everything he says is right, but he didn't allow a single sack in pass protection. He only fumbled the ball one time and he recovered it himself. You know, it's like even the intangibles for a guy like that have been pretty good. But like Mike Washington, you're right. For me, I was kind of dismissive of him going into the combine and the pro day. And again, I don't want to take too much. I don't even need to take too much time on this. Everyone knows what happened. He showed up and crushed the combine, right? Like, did anybody expect him to run that 40? We always talk about double counting, where it's like, okay, we think this guy's fast, and then he shows up at the combine and he's fast, so we move him up even further because he's fast. This guy, it's not double counting for me, because I didn't think he was going to run a 4.33. Did anybody have him penciled in for that?
No,
that's what I mean. So
yeah, that 4.4 would have been good, but a 4.3, that's
4.33 at 6'1", 223. Like, for me, when he did that, I had to move him up because I had not already accounted for that once. There's no double counting there because I didn't even think about it. So like now you look at it and you're like, well, if he gets the capital too, you know, if he goes as a second or third back off the board, I'm not going to knock him for fumbles. You know, it's like, you just, you know, you throw the couple footballs in a bucket of soapy water and you start whacking him with bags and making him sleep with it at night. You know what I mean? Like, do what you can there. But, with the size and speed now, I had to move him up. So it's simple as that. Like, I didn't think he was I had no idea. I had no clue he was even capable of that.
Only one defensive player and defensive lineman on here. You guys know that I have to do this. Peter Woods is a massive follower for me. I've been a hater, and I have propped him up from draft hype alone, and it seems like everyone else. This is one of my first years where I've been full-time draft from kickoff of college football till now. And you really do see, even the NFL takes time to move where you are. Everyone's like, this Peter Woods kid, like they said in practice, he can run a 4.5. I'm like, cool. But in a game, I don't see shit. Like, I just don't know. Like, homie stands straight up. Like, in what sport does standing straight up ever help you with leverage? That's the answer is none. Not in fighting.
Ping pong.
I've seen Marty Supreme. You got to have a stance.
Sometimes you got to stand right up and get him, though.
Yeah, it's just like I just don't like anything about him. And this is one of those cases where, like, Peter Woods defensively feels like a Devi Darling. Like this guy, like you talked about Spork, all that stuff here. This was all like Fugazi numbers that were thrown out there. And just because he's a physically imposing guy, it's been out there. And now that we're past that, that seems to be over. That's enough on the defensive front. That's
with Peter Woods. I just want to add one thing. Like if you're going to show up and not do any of the testing, like
why show up?
I would say this: show up, eat an entire wedding cake and like some tubs of ice cream before, and weigh over 300 pounds. Like he showed up. Like at least do that, and then get the weight on the get the weight registered, and then not do any of the testing, and then maybe take that off and do your pro day. But he showed up undersized and then didn't do any of the work.
Yeah. Well, and then when he showed up undersized, everyone's just like, oh, I bet he's going to roll on the 40. And then he's like, nah, I'm not. I'm like, well, what are we doing here?
Kid, when I was a kid playing youth football, we had some kids that were too big that would go out and wear like trash bags to lose weight. And then we had some kids that were too small that would show up to weigh-ins with like curtain weights in their pockets, and like the bottom of their shoes were filled with like quarters just to like play. It's like Peter Wood should have had the curtain weights in his pants. You know what I mean? Like just get over 300. I mean, it's like, if you're going to be that type of player, you gotta give us something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Last one is another follower from me. You guys already know it if you've been a frequent listener. Jadarian Price. I just kind of want to hear where Coop is on it, because he had like the opposite of Mike Washington. Showed up smaller and slower. And like in his relative athletic score, we're almost getting spoiled because it's really not that bad. It's an 8.37. But when you are never a bell cow, you have no receiving, and you come back smaller, and we think that you have some thump, and you don't. That's I don't love it.
Yes, dude, that's exactly it. When you're the mystery box, the combine is when the box gets opened, right? Like you got to show up and hit everything and hit all the numbers. And his 10-yard split wasn't even good either. It was like 161 or something like that. And it's like that for those type of guys, when you're going to be the guy that's asked to get 2 yards when you need one. Right, a good football play that we don't care about in fantasy football. Like you got to show up and show some burst and show some of that stuff. And now it's just the problem for GMs is that when you draft a guy like this and he doesn't hit, everybody gets really, really upset with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because now you're just literally taking people on their word. And I will also say one thing on Jadarian Price. I know everybody hates the transfer portal. Everybody hates NIL. This dude should have transferred.
Yes.
Like, just like the moment he got hurt, the moment Jeremiah Love shows up, you got to go somewhere else. And for just 1 year even, and just catch 30 passes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it would have done wonders for him to go somewhere and just catch some passes, because like, especially in fantasy football, even the guys that succeed that don't catch passes end up being like Jordan Howard, Alfred Morris, Jeremy Hill, and the guys that fail end up being like Dwayne McBride. And, Chris Rodriguez even is like a guy that where he has 7 passes in the NFL, 7 receptions. It's so hard for me to get in on that. So I don't know. Let's say he goes off the board as a second running back at pick 36. Jag, you back in or you are?
I mean, if he goes that early, it depends on the team, obviously. But like, let's say
Vikings.
Yeah, I'm way back in on that. I'm way back in that price.
Me
like
too.
I'll shut the fuck up and I'll see what I saw on tape, right. And I'm like, yeah, baby, let's ride.
Yeah. But for now, undoubtedly, based on the topic at hand, though, he did not do himself favors through the process.
I think Pat Fitzmaurice had a quote on Fantasy Pros that I think was the best one, where it's just like, I'm taking like 11 wide receivers, which I take my RB2 if I'm in fantasy. And like, I wouldn't be surprised in an NFL draft if we see 15 wide receivers go before we get to the RB2.
I think that's a perfect time for me to plug. If you want to see Pat Fitzmaurice come on the Fantasy Alarm Show on YouTube and talk wide receivers next Wednesday, 4/8 at 1 p.m. He'll be doing exactly that. So we'll find out exactly who those 12 wide receivers are over on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. How's that for a segue, Jack?
That was a perfect segue, because like we're done, folks. That we gave you 8 players. I'll definitely have Coop back whenever I can. Always a great time to have him on here. He talks tight end on Twitter, and he's over on Fantasy Alarm. You're on Sirius. You work all the time for no money, just because you're in this industry like the rest of us, but like at least we yap about football.
Make me a bicycle clown.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you want him to make a bicycle, make sure to hit him up on Twitter. As always, it's me, Jagger. That's Andrew Cooper. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time.